Hi everyone. I wanted to do a little bit of a reflection today. I used to do an evening prayer, but I stopped doing it. And I was thinking about Jesus's life and how he went to pray in the garden before the police arrested him and took him to the chief priests and the Jewish religious authorities before they handed him over to the Romans. So the prayer, Jesus went into the garden to pray. A lot of people in those days went into the garden to pray. Just like us, we go into our gardens to pray. I know I have friends who have put up beautiful statues in their gardens outside with chairs and tables, or just a statue where they sit and they pray and they meditate. So in the same way, Jesus went into the garden to pray. And maybe he knew what was coming for him, but maybe he didn't know when and where and how he was going to die and what kind of death he was going to have and what he was going to go through. But as life went on, the picture of his life became clearer to him. And so imagine if you're sitting in the garden, you're going there, you're praying to Jesus, and you're asking God to let this cup pass, whatever it is, the cup of suffering, the cup of separation, the cup of leaving behind loved ones, friends and family. And he's praying for them to be united, his disciples and his family, and he's praying for them and telling God he hasn't lost anybody that God has given him. Imagine how terrifying it must have been when he went out to pray. Did he expect them to come in the middle of the night and arrest him and take him? Probably not. I don't think people go to a garden or a park or wherever and expect the police to turn up there and arrest you. But that's what happened to him. And it's a terrifying thing to think about, because that's what's happening in our world today. Ordinary people driving home from work are getting pulled over by the police, getting attacked, brutalized. A young man was killed in America. And it's sad. It's sad when you can live in a country your whole life and you can give to that country, you can heal people, you can help people, you can volunteer, you can read in the temple like Jesus or read in the church, and when push comes to shove, nobody's there for you. You face the police alone. And that's how I felt when I went in to meet with the police, when I was reporting what was happening in my building. If other people are going through their own problems, why do they take it out on me? I don't interfere in their life. I don't have them tracked. I don't chase their husbands. I'm not interested in anybody's husband. It's very disturbing when you think about what happened to me and what happened to my life. It's disturbing to be at an airport and to do what the police told you to do and to do what the airport authorities told me to do, and then to be summoned to the police station and to be told, I don't want to see you here again. I did nothing wrong. I did what I was asked to do. I lived under the authority of the law. I worked with the banks. I was such a good employee. I used to organize when my first boss, Jean de Gagne, had adopted his little girl. I organized a party for him. I told his wife, she said, you know what, he'll like that. Go ahead and organize it. I can't come, but organize it. I did that for him. All my managers liked me. And yet, my own people, my own family are the ones who are saying, you are the problem. It came from the family. It came from my mother. It came from other people in the family. And I got tired of it. I said, you know what? I don't interfere in people's lives, in people's marriages. I don't call their workplace to ask about them. The only thing I said when I was at HSBC is that I wanted to go to England. That's the only thing I said. And all the employees around me kept saying, oh, Jane is saying Eddie likes her, Eddie likes her. They didn't mean it this way, they didn't mean it that way. But you have to consider culture as well. I was an executive assistant. I was the right hand to senior leaders in the community. And I was working with MPs, I was working with Justin Trudeau, I was working with Marco Mendocino. I was going into their offices to meet with them. I went to the first barbecue that Marco Mendocino organized. I went to it. Nobody else was there, but I went and volunteered to help them. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, from nowhere, people are having me tracked, having me followed. I got a shock when the police told me, it's your family, it's not all Credit Suisse, it's your family. We reprimanded Credit Suisse and we reprimanded the employees at HSBC. And I was like, what? So it's very disturbing when that happens. And I don't interfere in people's lives, just like Jesus didn't interfere in people's lives. People came to him when they told him they needed healing, they needed help. When they revealed to him what the areas were where they needed healing, he helped them. But if people don't come to me and ask me for my help, I don't go knocking on doors saying, are you having marital problems? Or do you think I'm after your husband? I don't do that. I live a quiet life, I do my job. And for so many years, year after year, I had contract after contract. When I worked in the hospital at Toronto Western, I did a good job. They cried when they let me go. When I worked at CIBC, I did a good job. When I worked at Hugerson Consulting, I did a good job. I supported the CEO at Hugerson Consulting. When I worked at OBM Security, I worked for the president of the company. This is the first job I've had at Teleperformance where I've been in an entry-level role because I couldn't get anything. Nothing was opening up for me. It's the same thing when I sponsored my mother. When we went to America and we went to my godfather's house, he said, I'd like to thank Anita and Stuart for bringing Bridget and all the work they did. And I said, and what about me? And he did this. I got no credit for bringing my mother to Canada, for sponsoring her, for helping her. When she used to come and stay with me, she used to say, I'm only coming for 3 days and I'm going back. And I used to get hurt. I used to tell her, I want you to stay with me. I want you to spend time with me. And she used to say, no, Anita and Stuart do everything for me. And I said to her, what is it that I haven't done for you that they've done? I sponsored you. I cook for you. Whenever you need something, I help you. No, she wanted to go back. So I left it until those calls started coming in again. Then I called her to find out what the problem was. So, people shouldn't take their frustrations out on other people because it becomes very serious. In the end, Jesus landed up being killed. They crucified him. Other people have gone to jail. Innocent people have gone to jail because people in their fear don't want to tell the truth. Or people make a mistake and they don't want to tell the truth. And it's not fair. It's not fair to me. It's not fair to HSBC. To the managers that stood up for me. It's not fair to the other people because our lives suffer, just like my income suffered. I couldn't get a permanent job. I couldn't relocate to England. My life suffered. I don't get 4 weeks vacation. I don't own my own home because of other people's mistakes. And you can say life is not fair, but then why do we celebrate Black History Month? Why do we celebrate Pride Month? Why do we do all these things? Don't do it. Why do you do it? Because injustice has to be corrected. And I don't deserve what was done to me. I don't deserve to be tracked everywhere I go and followed everywhere I go. I don't deserve to be accused of being fixated and obsessed with my family and with Credit Suisse. I don't interfere with anybody's life. And people should think about it. The gospel stories are not just there for the sake of it. They're there for us to learn from. And they're not just there to say, oh, well, that happened to Jesus. Because it's happening to people today. Men and women, it's happening to people today. And it makes me very angry. The same way, like if my mother calls me and she says, I'm in pain and I can't see and my eyes are aching, my head is sore. And she knows she's diabetic. She knows she has to control what she eats, but she eats cake and chocolate and she has sweets and she has alcohol. And if I say don't do that, who do the family come down on? My uncle in Connecticut? On me. I told my doctor, this is what's happening. And he said, just stay away then, if that's the case, because your life is suffering. You're trying to help people and they're hurting you. I don't get it. So if you know that if you eat that cake and chocolate and all of that, and you know your brother went blind before he died, you know how it's going to affect you, but you go and do it. And then you call me, I call you, and you tell me. Is it fair? Is it right? And then you say, even when she was small, she was like that. I tried my best to help people, to look after my mother, and I don't get the rewards. I don't get the benefits. I don't get the praise. I don't get, thank you, Belinda. We know that you were concerned. I get, you know what? We are far away. We haven't got the time. We're not going to include you. You should go and put yourself into Sunnybrook Hospital if you need help, because we are not going to come. We have lived our life and now we want to enjoy, and we don't have time for you. That's what I get. So I decided, you know what, just look after your own life, do the best you can, and hopefully I get a break, I get a good paying job. But it's completely unfair, completely and totally unfair what has happened to me. And then people were like, oh, how do you know you can trust somebody? Well, you have to judge that. Jesus trusted his disciples, but he knew who was going to betray him. He knew what was coming, what would happen to him. And now I know that if anything happens to me, I will be left by my family to face the police alone. And they'll say they can't remember what was happening. They don't know. Or I am the problem. So you have to look at it in a way that what has happened to Jesus is not just something that happened like 2,000 years ago and it's, oh, forget it, it's like irrelevant. It's relevant and it matters. Jesus' family also said, oh, he's out of his head, we want to take him home. So there's nothing like out of your head. It's the Christian journey, and we choose our values. We get to choose. That's the beauty of it. We get to choose.